Okay, perfect. So thank you so much for joining. We are going to be talking about the paperless probationary evaluation process. I feel like that is a tongue twister for me. This is obviously for new hires. So anyone on this call is responsible for evaluating the new hires. And this is going to be a two-step process, which is why we want to make sure that everyone understands how to get to all the pieces in Docusign. And then this is going to be completed. I'm just reading a couple of important notes. So this is going to be completed well in advance of the 90 days of employment. And if an employee meets regular status requirements, which is 90% or above, the employment continues and the employee is of regular status. If the score is going to be less than 90%, then they will not be able, well, the continued employment will be under discussion. And we're going to go over those steps later. So let's say we're ready to start that eval process for one of our new hires. The very first thing you're going to do is obviously sign on to DocuSign, which everyone should be able to do comfortably at this point. And there are going to be two templates that you're going to be looking for. The first one that you're going to go to is just called probationary evaluation. So you have a couple places that you can find that. We can go right here to our start button, go to envelopes, and then use a template. You can also go under agreements, and in the upper left-hand corner, you'll be able to find the exact same like start information. So I was able to click find a template under your my templates, which is where it auto takes you. You're going to have nothing here because you have not created any templates. So you're either going to want to go to shared with me because I've shared all of those evals with everyone. Or if you go under the shared folders, this is going to be saved. Both of those evals are going to be saved under the employment consent forms. And so that might be the easiest place for y'all to find them. So there's a probationary eval, and not to be confused with part two, which is probationary eval signatures. So we just want probationary evaluation because that's going to be step one. And I'm going to add selected. At this point, I have nothing else to upload, but potentially later I'll show you that we are going to upload something. So this is the eval. We're going to go down. Everything should be preset for the most part. I am the supervisor, so I'll just put my name in here. And then the only other person at this step is going to be Angie McKinney. Her information is preset for you. And then if you wanted to add a message, you certainly could. I think it would be I'm unable to set like a preset name here for you. So you'll notice on the other templates, I've been able to have like the brackets and it'll say like SCI employee or something like that. That's because it auto populates the name for you in your inbox later, which makes like searching for someone a lot easier. Because in our uh, signing order right here, the people that are going to be looking at this original document, it's only me and Angie. So, or you and Angie, I guess I should say. So, those aren't names that I want necessarily for her to see on this probationary eval. So, if you wanted to add who you were, like the employee that you were evaluating at this point, I think that would be really helpful, or even just like their last name or something. So, let's say I was doing one on Cecily. I could type her name, and now me and Angie would have better clarity as these start coming in for her. Otherwise, everybody's just going to come in as complete with DocuSign probationary eval, and she might want a little bit more clarity on it versus having to click into each one as she receives them. But not mandatory, but I think it would be really nice if we were able to do that for Angie, and for you when you go back to your evals in your inbox. So we click next on the next pages. It's just a one-page document. At this point, before I hit send, anything that is in dark gray, just as we've done these templates before, anything in dark gray is what I need to complete right now, or it won't let me move forward. So I have to type in the employee's name, oops, and the date of hire. I'm just going to type in something random so that we can move on. Their confirmation number, 104, a title, their work site, and then the date of this eval. And that's all I'm allowed to do at this point. There's no other dark gray items on this page. And you're like, oh, but I wanted to type in the values. Note that we cannot do any of this stuff in the yellow boxes until after I hit send. So far, so good. Alrighty, we're gonna go ahead and hit send. And if I did everything correctly, it says, hey, you've got something to sign right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and click sign now because I wanna go ahead and complete this eval and get it sent over to Angie. We're going to continue. So anything in the red square boxes, that just means that it's required. And you'll note that I've forced it to have a value between 1 and 3, or it'll give you like a error message towards the bottom, because it will auto populate a score for you and auto populate your percentage for you, so you don't have to worry about that. And Angie can just look at those two things and do her side of what needs to get done. So let me just go ahead and type in some random numbers so that we can move on with our day. Alrighty. And then it does require the boxes over here for when things are completed. So those are either dates or some words. So we'll just type in dates or NA. I'm just going to fill this in. So it will let us move on and we can continue looking at how this paperwork goes. Okay, great. So it realized that I was done with all of my boxes and it popped up with this ready to finish thing. There's no signature for the supervisor to do at this point. This just gets sent straight over to Angie. So we're going to click finish. And it will always bring you back over to your inbox, which is also called agreements. And so this, you'll see that it's just pending, waiting for Angie to do her thing. And once Angie did her thing, you'll get a completed check mark here, and you'll be able to click a download button over here. So at this point, you'll be able to click into it and see if this employee was able to, continue into regular status. And we've actually done one of these together, a group of us. So I'm going to click in here to probationary. If I could spell, that would be great. Okay. So I'm going to search my inbox for my probationary evals, and I'm just going to pretend like this bottom one is the one that we were working on today. You're going to download. I never click all because it has this certificate of completion, which is just a Docusign only piece that we don't need that at SCI. So I always make sure to click off of that. I'll click just the document that I want, which is here in the middle, click download. You're going to save this to wherever you feel comfortable in your computer. For today, I'm just going to save it to like my desktop or something, just so that I can find it later. All right, we're just going to save. Cool. So let's pretend so at the end, you'll see, this is where Angie signed her stuff. And we're going to pretend like Cecily did a great job. She's 100%. We're moving on to step 2. Are there any questions before I move to step 2? Any questions so far about getting this sent over to Angie? All right, cool. Okay, perfect. So the next part, this is, several days later, we've gotten our stuff back from Angie and we're ready to go ahead and prepare to meet with our employee and let them know how the eval went and, steps moving forward. So again, I'll probably be on my home screen again. I'm going to do that for you because this is just how it originally comes up when you sign on to Docusign. We can go to start, envelopes, use a template. And again, on this left-hand side, I'll go down to the shared folders, employment consent forms. And I'm going to click the probationary eval signatures because that's part 2. And we'll add selected. So that part, this is the preset part of the eval. We're going to upload the signed portion that we just downloaded from Angie. So I'm going to click browse. I'm going to find it wherever I saved it to my computer. And if you are a ICF supervisor, you also potentially have part 2 orientation documents. So that is going to also be uploaded here at this time. You can upload it. If for some reason you would like to rename something, you certainly have that option by clicking the 3 dots. You can replace it. Let's say you selected the wrong thing off your computer. You can replace it, you can delete it, you can view it just to make sure, you can rename it, whatever you want to do. It's all good. So this is where you're going to be uploading those items. And we're going to move down. So supervisor again is yourself. So I'll just put my name in here. If you have a facility director that needs to be included as far as signature goes, you can add them here. I'm just going to delete this away because we're going to pretend like I don't have a director to add to this at this point. You're going to now have the employee added here. So for all purposes, I'll add Cecily. She's actually on the call, so we're good. And then HR is going to be the last person. They just receive a copy to go in the personnel file. So in the east, that's going to be Elizabeth, and in the west, that's going to be Sonia. And I'm just gonna I'm gonna type Elizabeth's name, but I'm gonna put my email address so that she doesn't get confused. I don't want this to be an issue later. Okay, cool. So we'll just do that. Um, and then you'll notice that it does have those brackets to auto-populate a name here so that it's easy to find in your inbox and for everyone receiving it to understand who this is belonging to. So that's perfect. And we're going to click next. Okay. So at this point, we are mandated to, this is where we're going to type in our comments about whatever's going on. It is in dark gray, so I need to do it prior to hitting any sort of send. You'll notice that this red sentence here just reminds me to add that eval in there in case you had like moved really quickly and forgotten to upload all of the portions that need to be added. And so we're typing. We type our comments, blah, 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 blah. There's no other place for me to do anything at this point, and you'll see that all the other pages that I uploaded are just right below. If you wanted them to be first, you can certainly do that, but I think that it's better if they're next in line. So this is where we would like to pause, because if you press send, there's no, I guess you could edit your comments later, but it's just easier if we like pause at this point. So I'm not going to hit send as the supervisor. I'm actually just going to hit this X in the upper left-hand corner, which is save and close. We're going to save and close. And it's going to sit here in my draft. So you'll notice it took me back to my agreements tab on the left-hand side. It normally takes you to your inbox, but if you go down, left-hand side, there's a draft area. Just like your regular email, there's a draft area. So this is going to sit in my drafts until I'm ready to send it to the employee for signature. And in order for me to do that, I need to meet with them, whether that be virtually. So I'm going to pull up my computer so that they can read over that eval with me and we can talk about their scores and all that jazz. Or you're sitting there in person with them right next to you looking at your computer. But either way, it's going to just pend right here until you're ready. So let's say I'm meeting with my employee. I'm going to go ahead and click back into, I can click continue or click the, if you hover, it gives you the option to click on it. I'm just going to click continue with my draft. Pulls back up everything that we were just working on. Nothing was lost. I have the option to edit anything at this point because I haven't sent anything. I don't have to worry about it. So maybe as we were talking, there were some additional things that came up, and I want to add those comments, into that supervisor comment area that came up while we were discussing and looking down at all this stuff together. We could also, if it's like if you're viewing this and you're like, well, I can't really see what's going on, you can certainly hit that zoom and kind of see everything. You can also hit preview And that might be able to give you a better option as far as looking at this with your employee right next to you. I don't know. There's various options as far as like looking at it goes, but just so you know that we can skip around and do things to be able to check it out with our employees. So at this point, let's say we're ready. We've talked to everybody. We're good to go. We're going to go ahead and hit send. And because you're the supervisor, it comes to you first. So you are going to hit sign now. So sign, finish. If there was a facility director, it would go to them next. Once they sign, it goes to the employee. And once they sign, it goes to HR because so there is an order. At this point, and you can kind of check on this, I'm just waiting for Cecily and then it would send to HR. Let's say Cecily's taken a while and, she never does, but let's just say that it took her, 24 hours and she still hasn't gotten that signature in, even though we were sitting here on the computer doing it together. You can always hit resend just to kind of give her a nudge of, that this is pending. We need you to go ahead and sign this kind of a thing. And yeah, I think that is once it's done, it will stay here in your inbox. And I don't know that there's anything necessarily that you need to do as far as saving it goes, unless you just want to, but it will stay in your Docusign. And HR will have their own copy. And actually, the employee will receive their own copy once everything is complete. They'll get an email with a completed status of their eval. And that's all.
Over if it's not approved, what they need to do?
Yeah, sure. So let's say you did that initial eval that only the supervisor and Angie McKinney are checking out, and she hit the no, they're not approved for regular status. And then you're going to likely initiate the termination process. And so there is a request for personnel action in DocuSign, and you'll attach that unapproved probationary eval. And then there's obviously like a meeting and things that need to be followed. But yeah, we can make sure that's here, but under start envelopes, we're using a template again. Personnel, oops. Request for personnel action right here. Add selected. And you would upload that same eval that we were uploading to the other one, but now with the potential for termination. So all of these are filled in at the next step, but probationary eval with Angie's signature saying no, and then also the part 2 orientation if you're ICF. Yes.